Welcome, and thank you for tuning in to Black Women Amplified, the podcast. Your host, Monica Wisdom Tyson, brings you downloadable conversations that matter to women around the globe. We discuss all things Black girl magic, amplify our voices, and transform our challenges into triumphs. Monica calls on her league of extraordinary women to push our boundaries, share their expertise, and stories of personal transformation. Welcome your host of Black Women Amplified, Monica Wisdom Tyson.
Hello, Black Women Amplified. It is your girl, Monica Wisdom, and I am so excited that you're here today. I hope that you are having a wonderful day and that life is treating you well. I am doing really good. I had an interview Thursday with a country western star, and I can't wait for you to hear that. It's going to come out not next week, but the week after. And this Thursday, the interview with Tracy Moore dropped. Please go and listen to it. And listen to it from beginning to end. She is phenomenal. Just her story is just amazing. I could have talked to her. All of these women I have had conversations with, I asked them to come back because I have so many more questions. You know, it's interesting when you hear people who are still in the thick of their career and their life, but they have lived such a long career and such an amazing life. And the twists and the turns, it just teaches me a lot. And it really opens up my eyes to what's possible for my life. And I can honestly say getting into the world of podcasting, I just finished a 6-week mastermind because I'm always learning and trying to improve myself as well as the things that I do. I have this thing where I like to master what I'm doing. So if I'm going to be in this podcast world, I need to know where I fit in, where my strengths work, where I'm weak and I need to improve all of the things. And it could be from the sound as much as I can control without having a production team, content, making much better content for everybody, and understanding how this whole process works. So in 6 weeks, I learned so much. And the man that I learned from used to be the head of podcasting for iHeartRadio. And if you know iHeartRadio, it's a huge conglomerate of radio stations. And they got into podcasting maybe 12 years ago. And they're like Sirius or any of the other radio stations that you tune into when you're in your car or whatever. And he also started a podcasting company, and he builds podcasts out for other companies. And so we had some great speakers, people who were like deep in the game with audio, with marketing, with learning your analytics, with all the things. So I was doing that twice a week for 6 weeks. So I had 12 classes and just great information. I can't wait to go back through the videos. So we did it live on Zoom, and then I have access to watching the videos. I love learning, and I love learning from people that have experience, because even though I worked in the music industry for a long time and I've been doing the podcasting for about 15 months, I know a lot. You know, I was able to do this, but this helped me refine all of my systems, and I'm still working on everything, even just a simple sound piece, making sure the audio is good. You know, making sure that I understand the analytics because I didn't understand them before. So now I know that my demographic, the listeners of this podcast, the demographic of Black Women Amplified are millennials and Generation X. I didn't know that. I thought my demographic was boomers and Gen X, but millennials pay attention too. Millennials are actually the biggest demographic of the people that are engaged with Black and Women Amplified as a brand. I love that. I love the kids. I'm calling them kids, but they're not kids anymore. That's Gen Z. But I even have Gen Z kids. Now, they are kids to me, but they're adults, but I call them kids. So I was impressed with that the content that we're putting out, that means that we're putting out, or what I'm putting out as a brand, as a company, and as a message is across the board for 4 demographics. That's pretty cool. So I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. I'm going to keep refining, keep building, because the one thing I have fallen in love with podcasting. I don't know why. But there's something special about being able to have real conversations with remarkable women about real life situations. And when you're in a podcast, as opposed to video or YouTube, the guards come down and the conversations get real. And the one thing about, especially Gen X, we don't like to talk to people. So when we do talk, we're going to say what we have to say, and then we're going to go back in our little corners and do what we do. That's just how we roll. Millennials are more open. Boomers don't want to talk about anything. They'll talk to each other, but get on up. I have asked my aunt, "And Christy, would you like to do?" Nope. Don't ask me. She has incredible stories, like amazing stories. The stuff that she did as a woman of her generation are phenomenal. I'm not going to tell her stories. I'm not going to ask her anymore. But I encourage you to ask the elders and record your stories. Podcasting is a great way to record your family stories. It's a great way to share your expertise. It's a great way to connect with people that like to do the same thing that you like to do, knitting or traveling. Great wine. I've met a lady who does a whole podcast on wineries around the world, a Black lady. So she's traveled around the world to all these different wineries, and she talks about it. So it's a way to have a conversation. It's not just about being Oprah Winfrey. Sometimes it's just about talking to 100 people who you connect with. And there are other benefits to it, but when my masterclass comes out about podcasting, I promise you, I'll give you all the deets about it. If you're ever interested, just DM me on the Black Women Amplified Instagram page. And I can, if you have any questions, if you're ever interested in it, just let me know. So I'm going to move on. The masterclass I took was incredible. There were about less than 100 people, but it was really good. And like I said, there were people from all over the world who were our lecturers. And it was a top quality class. It was really the best of the best of the best. That's why I'm starting my blog again. That's why I've I figured out the mistakes I've made with my audio. Anyway, chitter chatter, enough of that. So, like I said, I asked the tribe on the Facebook page, Black Women Amplified Facebook page, what would you like me to talk about? Because I want to talk about the things that you all want to know about. I just don't want to run my mouth about everything and tell my stories. The interviews are great. I love them, and you all are loving them because the comments I'm getting are amazing. If you have sent me a comment or you wanted to say something or you say something in your head, please head over to your favorite podcast platform, preferably Apple, and leave a review and rate it. And I can read it, I can see it, and then other people can see it. And it helps to get the word out about the podcast when you give me a high rating and a great review. So I appreciate everything. It's just little things that help us grow. And I want to make sure that this podcast continues to grow because I'm loving it. They say at McDonald's, I'm loving it. Now, let me just say this real quick. This is a sidebar since I mentioned McDonald's. So y'all saw that Cardi B and her husband, I can't remember which one of the amigos he is, but they have an endorsement deal with McDonald's, right? Now, when you see the little commercials, answer me this. Do you actually see them putting that food in their mouth? Because we used to watch commercials, they would actually eat the food. If you're not actually eating the food, like, should I be eating the food? Just sidebar, just a random thought. On to the conversation. Building confidence. Now, if you are a Gen X, we don't really talk about our issues. We don't really engage in these conversations. It's hard enough to get people to go to therapy these days. Millennials, y'all like talking about your stuff, and that's y'all. So I'm kind of trying to bridge that gap today. Because Gen X, anybody who grew up as a latchkey kid, we had to bury our insecurities and our traumas and just move forward anyway. So we know how to do that really, really well. But it doesn't necessarily mean that we're confident about it. We were just more scared of our parents than the situation. Oops. I'm talking with my hands. If y'all could see this setup, it's a mess. But it's a beautiful mess. Anyway, so we had to bury our traumas, bury our whatever we had to do. What was your mama say? Don't let me see you cry. You better not cry. Now, millennials, you're a little different. We raised y'all. And so we said, please express yourself. And y'all really express yourself. Which I think is a beautiful thing because I have learned a lot. As you can tell, I'm talking a lot about expressing my feelings. But I'm still in the midst of expressing them with the trusted few, right? And through this podcast, I have gained a lot of confidence in sharing my story and sharing myself, which is part of the reason that I did it, that I started it anyway. And it has evolved into something else, which I love. But hearing my voice, getting used to the sound of my voice, getting used to the platform, and understanding of who I am without who I'm standing next to, without a project that I'm working on, without any of those things, just me, myself, and I. This podcast has been a huge way for me to step into my power and really own being a confident woman. And of course, I still have my insecurities. Of course, things still come up for me, but at least now I have a way to express myself and not like dumb it down or hide it or shrink. This is me. When I'm in conversations with people who have, who live totally different worlds than me, then live totally different lives than I do, I'm still me. And that's what I feel that confidence is. The imagery of confidence is this, strong, powerful. I think confidence is just being able to be unapologetically yourself. And as Black women, we have many, many, many facets. And oftentimes we deal with imposter syndrome. And I think we go beyond imposter syndrome. And I would love to have somebody call me so I can do a study about this. I like to call it systemic racism syndrome, more so than imposter syndrome, because I think that there's some real stuff that we're dealing with. These, what do they call them? I don't think there's such a thing as a microaggression, because a paper cut hurts just as much as cramps. I'm just saying. Hurt is hurt. Is hurt is hurt. So I don't like the term microaggressions. It's an aggression, whether it's subtle or overt, whether it's systemic or in your face. It's aggression. And it's oppression at the same time. It's oppressive and it's aggressive. We gotta call it what it is. But in the sense of confidence is about dealing with all of that stuff and still being comfortable with who you are. Because that is just information that has nothing to do with you as a human being. It might be a societal thing, but it's just not the truth. You're not inferior. We are not inferior to anybody. I'm not going to get into all the stats of that, but and I know, we are not inferior to anybody. Okay? So I say all to say that even though we are high achievers, ambitious, can have all the highest educated of all women in the United States, people who are listening from outside the United States, if you look up the stats, the most educated people in the United States are Black women. Black women have more degrees and certificates and all the things than anybody, including white men, white women, Asian people, all of that. Black women stand ahead. But for some reason, society keeps pushing us down, right? We're often told that we are too much and we need to simmer down. I'm going to be the girl that stands up for the girls that are too much. Because I know my whole life I've been told girl, you are too much. And for a long time, I shrunk. I pulled back. I didn't want to feel like I was being too aggressive or too angry or too this or too that. So my voice got softer. My throat got tighter. My chest would sometimes hurt. My head would hurt. because I was constricting my power. And in constricting my power, I shrank. Depressing, aggravating, humiliating, all the things. So I've decided I'm going to be that girl who stands up for all the girls that society said, you are too much. So now I'm going to go into my talk about confidence. I feel like I need to speak like a New Yorker. So I'm going to talk about confidence. Like I said, I talked to the tribe about what they wanted me to talk about. And I know, like I said, there's a lot of millennials on the page, and there's just a lot of women. We're 80% women and 12% men. See, I'm learning analytics. Data says that everything. And here's the thing, in looking at the data, I realized that I need to be having two conversations because it's two different groups of people, and millennials and Gen X are so far apart from each other. So Gen X, you know what? Sit back and listen. Millennials, take out your notes, take out your pen, take out your paper, because I'm about to give you a lesson on confidence, how to build it. And here's the truth. Everyone has their own path to feeling confident or self-assured. But the step before you get to confidence, and this is the secret, there's a step before you get to, I feel comfortable in my skin. That's the stage that I call, and if anybody's on here and they don't like cussing, take your headset out right now. Or if there's kids in the room, there's going to be a little bit of cussing in this conversation. There's the piece that comes before confidence is the I don't give a fuck factor. Now, the I don't give a fuck factor, that's the piece that takes work. The confidence is the step after that, right? So the step between I don't know who I am, I don't know what I want to do, I'm not sure about this, I'm not sure about that, that leads you to I don't give a fuck. And I'm going to stop saying that because I'm sure my Aunt Christy's listening and she's telling me that I could use other words. But it fits, right? You just stop caring about what other people think. But here's the thing. The work that it takes to get to the I don't give a F factor, that's the journey of self-discovery. And here's the thing. People ask, well, how do I start? Where do I begin? And I'm not a therapist. All I know is what I know from my experience. And that's all that I can share from is my journey of developing what people are calling confidence. We as a people spend a lot of time on trying to figure out life and trying to gain confidence. And sometimes people mistake approval from others as confidence. We as a society put so much value on how much education somebody has, how much money somebody has, how famous somebody is, all of those things. And it's causing us to constantly go after more, leaving a void when it seems like there's not enough or we can't get there fast enough. And then we internalize it and feeling like we are not enough. So there's the external chase and then there's the eternal letdown of, well, if I was just smarter, if I just had more education, if I just made more money, if I was just famous, then I would have value. We put the value on external things. And so that gap between what's outside and what's inside builds us to a point of lack of confidence. And here's the thing about confidence. Before you get to confidence, when confidence is not in your space, there's these trolls that hang around. And these trolls that hang around, they come from personal experiences. They come from traumas. They come from somebody said something to you when you were 11 years old and you keep running that program in your head. And those trolls are called guilt and envy and comparison and lack and fear and unworthiness. And this crew runs so deep. I mean, they live in our head, except for comparison. Comparison hangs out on social media, right? So you visually get to see what you think you are not. So before I got to the not give a fuck factor, I had to really embrace courage Because here's the thing about courage, and I'm going to tell you a story. Now, Gen X, you're going to know what I'm talking about. There is this cartoon that I used to watch called Speed Racer. Do you remember Speed Racer? Now, at the time I called it a cartoon. I did not realize I was watching anime. In the show Speed Racer was about a race car driver, teenage race car driver, and he had a sidekick, Chim Chim. And he drove this really fast car, and he always got in some situations. Like his race car was his regular car. So he had a nemesis, he had a girlfriend, he had a father, he had a brother, he had all the things. But anytime he got into a situation, his steering wheel had buttons on it. And different buttons did different things. This is way before KITT, Knight Rider car. And you could push a button, and if he got in a situation where there are a bunch of obstacles in front of him, he would push the button and he would the car would leap over all the obstacles, and then he would be on his way. And that's what courage is. Because here's the thing. That squad, those trolls of fear, lack, self-doubt, unworthiness, they're always going to be creeping around. They're always going to be creeping around. But what you have to do is push that button of courage and leap over all of that. And the other piece is that the theme song was Go Speed Racer, Go. Go Speed Racer. I can't sing because I might get blocked off of the platforms, but Go Speed Racer, Go. So anytime he had to go, that song would come on. Well, what is that in today's world? That was his mantra. That was his affirmation. It was Go Speed Racer, Go. So not only did he have his car that had a courage button, and he had a sidekick Chim Chim, which was his support system, he had a mantra. And here's the thing. We all need a courage button that takes us back, takes us away from, and helps us to leap over those voices in our head. Those voices that say we're not good enough. Those voices that say I don't belong here. Those voices that say I'm not going to do it. Nobody's going to care. Those are trolls in our head. They are spreading lies. And here's the thing. We have a choice of whether or not to believe them. And then we emit that energy that the trolls are putting inside of us. And then it attracts trolls in our real life, the outside life. So we got the trolls on the inside life and we got the trolls on the outside life. We call them haters. Girl, you ain't never going to be nothing. Girl, that's stupid. Who's going to buy that? All of those things. We all have those voices in our head. I would like to invent who's going to believe that? But then we've got the trolls, and then we've got society, which is where the systemic racism syndrome comes in. And it comes in because then we don't see it. It's not a possibility because we don't see it. One of my favorite movies to watch during Black History Month is Hidden Figures. And every time the movie is over, I cry because I have a scientific brain. My dad was a pharmacist and my mom was a musician. So my brain, I know that I have that capability, which is, I think, why I got into hair, because it's science. And why I became a premier hair colorist, because it's science. And I love mixing and all that other stuff. I love science class, but I never saw a Black female scientist. Even the doctors I went to were white men. The nurses were white women. I never saw, in my generation, there was a couple of doctors, but they weren't my doctor. And I met them later on in life. I was like, oh, you're a pediatrician? Dr. Nash is a famous one in St. Louis. But I didn't see it. So I didn't think it was possible for me. Now, the younger people, the millennials and Gen Z, they get to see all the people that are doing all the things. All Black people doing all the things. My generation didn't have that. We literally had to carve out spaces. So even if you saw it, it was from a distance. I couldn't just go down the street and see a Black pharmacist, Black female pharmacist, I should say. You know, I couldn't go up the street and see an engineer. Never met an engineer until I was grown. A Black female engineer, I should say. So even a Black female attorney didn't see it. So we have the internal trolls inside of us. Then we have the external haters around us. And then we have society that says, this is what you can do. But here's the thing. When you push that courage button and you have a support system and you have mantras and affirmations that you repeat to yourself over and over again, what happens is the haters dissipate. The trolls get quiet and you stop giving a fuck about society. And when you get to that point and you know what you know, honey, that's confidence. That's confidence. Because you don't have anybody, any troll in your head telling you you're not good enough. And when they do come up, you just say, go girl, go. Go Monica, go. Go Monica, go. Go Monica, go. Go Monica, go. And you drown out those inner voices. Because they're just programs running inside of you. Just like you put them in, you can pluck them out. The haters, your energy shifts. They can't be around where you're at because vibrationally they can't handle it. Because you're not gossiping anymore. You're not kikiing with them anymore. You're focused. You're focused on your journey. You're focused on your goals. You're focused on your dreams. And you are focused about your vision for life. And then society, you simply say, watch me work. Oh, you don't think I can do this? All right. I got my hands pulling back and forth. All right. Watch me work. And then you know what you do? You hire a coach. You start hanging around new people. You get new books to read. You start watching different television shows. You shift your music. You start listening to podcasts of people you admire. You start to listen to their journeys. You listen to the stories on Black Women Amplified. You listen to you listen to their stories, how they took an idea and built these magnificent careers, and you've never heard of them before. So you don't have to be famous to be successful. You just have to be determined, and then you have to decide what success looks like for you. That's confidence. And it will take some time, and you will go through some challenges. But like I said, you got that courage button that when you feel like I just can't make another day, you just pop and you take that car called your body, your mind, and your spirit, and you fly over those obstacles with your support system sitting in the passenger seat. And then, hey. You have landed. You got your mantra going. Go, sis, go. Go, sis, go. You go. You got that mantra going. And you fly through society and say, watch me work. And you'll see year by year by year, you will have phenomenal, focused progress. And you will look back and say, I did it. And then you will celebrate yourself. Because sis, you are confident, you are magical, and you are mighty. So remember, the troll's gonna talk, the haters gonna balk, and society is gonna be society. But the more that you focus on your vision, your dreams, your goals, and your aspirations, the less any of that stuff matters. And yes, I'm not saying that this negates therapy, that this negates anything that you have to do to keep your health, your mental health together, your physical health together. Doesn't negate any of that. What it does is it helps with that. Because instead of focusing on what's wrong with in your life, you balance it out by also seeing what is right in your life. And what is right in your life is that you are here and you are enough. And the fact that you woke up this morning, like they say in church, you woke up this morning, that means you got another opportunity to do what you need to do for yourself. And that's what I did for myself. I said, let me focus, like laser focus on the next chapter of my life. And as Gen X, 50 is not what we thought 50 was going to be. We're still sexy. and we're still hot and we're still getting it in. So we have to ask ourselves the question, what's the next chapter? What is the next chapter? Because the book is not finished being written. So my sisters, my young sisters, my peers, my elders, we are just writing chapters in a book, and we get to choose the words on the page. And that is how you build your life. That is how you build confidence, and that is how you build your dreams. Pen to paper, one word at a time. Thank you all for listening. Thank you all for being here. Please go to Apple and leave us a review. Check out the Power Partners on our show notes page of the Black Women Amplified podcast. I'm also going to be putting it on the blog. The blog should be ready next week because I'm going to work over the weekend. This is Friday the 10th. Oh. I wanted to go to a comedy show tonight, but Sunday I'm going to dinner and a brunch. So I've got the rest of today, and I'm going to give myself the deadline of Tuesday of having it up and going. I'm building it myself. I never thought I would do that. I never thought I'd be able to build a website, and I'm literally on my 5th website. I've taken some down, and like I said, I like to master stuff. Anyway, much love to you all. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being a part of this community. I will be opening up a group soon, so stay tuned for that. And remember, you are magnificent, and put somewhere a necklace, a charm, something that when you get stuck and those trolls run in your head, a bracelet that you can simply say, this is my courage button, and I'm going to go. Love to you all, light to you all, and I pray that the rest of your weekend, until we meet again, is amazing and divine. This is your girl, Monica Wisdom, and I am out.
Thank you for listening to Black Women Amplified. We hope you enjoyed the show. Be sure to subscribe and log on to blackwomenamplified.com for more information. Keep shining.